going. I'm going to call this meeting to order. Roxanne, would you please call the roll?
Mrs. Davis,
Here.
Mr. Dombrowski,
Here.
Mrs. Ingles, here. Mr. Marshall,
Here.
Mrs. McGrattan,
Here.
Mr. Ryan,
Here.
Mr. Sevilla, Mr. Soms,
Here.
Mr. Washington. 7 here, 2 absent.
Thank you. We have no presentations this evening. And at this time, I'll ask, are there any residents or property owners that wish to speak at this time? Hearing none. I see nothing, hearing none. Committee, there are no committee, commission, or board reports. Comments of town councilors, any comments? Wow, quiet group this evening. Okay. I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of special meeting minutes of May 26th and the public hearing minutes of May 26th.
And the
And
regular
meetings of May 26th.
So move, Councilor Dombrowski.
Is there a second, please?
Second, Counselor Soms.
Motion's made and seconded. Any comments, corrections? Roxanne, would you call the roll, please?
Mrs. McGrattan,
Yes.
Mr. Ryan,
Yes.
Mr. Soms,
Yes.
Mrs. Davis,
Yes.
Mr. Dombrowski,
Yes.
Mrs. Ingles, yes. Mr. Marshall,
Yes.
7 in favor, 0 opposed.
Motion carries. You have your communications list. I made no referrals in the past 2 weeks. Council subcommittee liaison reports, admin.
The administration committee met earlier this evening. We approved 2 job descriptions for the police department. And we approved an individual for the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Was that an alternate, correct, Mary?
Oh, sorry. Okay. Yes, Paul?
Yes, that's fine. I just wanted to clarify it was for an alternate.
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you. Oh, that was to take Tim's spot.
Yes.
Okay, community relations. Bill or Andra?
I'll do it. Chairman Washington was not able to join us tonight. So Community Relations met last Wednesday. We had our second public information session. I'm sorry, I think it was the third. But there were 2 sessions. One was the Senior Center presented by Scott Johnson. And he gave us a lot of information about services that are available to seniors, some of which I didn't know about. And I think it's good for a lot of people to, more people to know about it. And then Karen Getchus gave a report about Ledyard VNA, which is one of the highest rated visiting nurse associations in the country. They consistently get high marks. Unfortunately, we had only 1 attendee from the public, even though we advertised the session on our Facebook pages and the town advertised it. But we have a recording of it, which is also on the town website. So if anyone knows anybody who should know more about senior services or visiting nurse association, please refer them to the town website to find out what the town offers. It was a good session.
Councilor Soms, I'm thinking that maybe in the fall, when people were back to normal and there's not so much stuff happening, that we can promote those recordings.
Yeah.
Not do the sessions again, but to promote the recordings, because I'm sure there's lots of good info in them.
Yeah, good idea.
Any other questions for community relations? Finance committee.
Finance Committee met. Everything is on the agenda tonight. We had no new information on ARA funding or infrastructure bill, which, as we know, is still stalled. So everything's on the agenda for tonight.
Thank you. Any questions for finance? Land use plan.
Land use met Monday evening. Everything that we have discussed is on tonight's agenda.
Okay, any questions for land use? Other liaison reports, anyone? I would just say that the move to the food pantry was very successful. We had great helpers, and we're now operating from the barn. If anyone is listening, I would mention that please, if you're making donations, bring them to the barn and not the church. We've had several donations show up at the church, which is fine. We can get them where they need to go, but it would be easier for all concerned if we could get those directly to the barn. And the other liaison is the Farmers Market Committee. And they looked like they were having a heck of a good time there tonight. I went to pick up my dinner, and it was another packed crowd. Mayor is nodding his head, so he'll probably mention that under his report as well. Which is there, are there any other liaison reports? Hearing none, right on to the mayor's report.
So great segue, Chairman Davis. You know, there was concern that the farmers market may not bounce back as well post-COVID. The first two markets have clearly proved that 100% wrong. The first market had over 1,000 people, and the market tonight was probably more like 1,200. It was absolutely amazing. So I have a picture of the line for Captain Scott's that would make your head spin. I don't know if those people are going to eat dinner at midnight, but it was pretty amazing. So, and not just that, but the market as a whole. The food trucks are obviously a huge draw, but people were also buying from the vendors, and that's the key. So it's going incredibly well. Today felt vastly different than our Memorial Day celebration at the War Memorial. I called the day ahead just to check because the weather wasn't looking too promising, but they wanted to tough it out, and we did tough it out. And hard to believe, but I wore flannel line jeans for that, and we made it happen. So I would thank the Rotary Club and the Ledyard Lions, or Ledyard Lions and the Rotary Club, for what they've done. They're all indicating that they are very much looking forward to a return to normal next year with a full-blown Memorial Day parade, as we always do. So we'll look forward to that. COVID update, we're doing really, really well. Legislate cases have been decreasing for 8 straight weeks. We have 20 confirmed cases last week in the entire Legislate Health District of 10 towns. So that's the lowest total since last September 5th. Doing really well, and there's actually only 6 hospitalizations in all of New London County. So as an example, Lawrence and Memorial had like surge capacity of 330 beds, and they have 3 patients in right now. So going really, really well. I would say that vaccinations continue to increase, but at a decreasing rate in town. It's slowing down. The 65 plus crowd is effectively 100% done. The 45 to 64s are about 64%. And the 15 to 44-year-olds are about 54%. So it's improving. The various mass vaccination sites, clinics, are starting to shut down after this week. That includes Mitchell College and Mohegan Sun. One of them reported today that they had a clinic set up there anticipating as many as 600 people, and they had 10 people. So it just doesn't make sense to do the mass vaccination sites anymore when they have them so heavily staffed for such a small turnout. But the vaccine is becoming much more readily available. You could actually get Johnson & Johnson shots at the VNA now too, downstairs at Town Hall. We had our long-term disaster recovery team meeting again. As I mentioned before, it's one of 4 in the state. There are a number of goals that are coming out of that from some of the committee members, which include education, mental health services, and housing stability, all of which are very, very important. So I will report back on that when we have more of a substantial report that's more formalized. I mentioned before we had a FEMA evaluated nuclear safety drill coming up. That coming up date was yesterday. We reported to the bomb shelter at the high school at about 8 o'clock yesterday morning. We got out of there about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. We had 17 players that were all part of that drill, including FEMA evaluators that were going around the room, checking on what we were doing and how we were doing things. And we got a verbal, very good job from them. So there will be a formal report coming, but we did really well, which was important too, because that was Jim Mann's first FEMA evaluated drill and he was heading it up. So that went really well. We did finally have that ARPA spending seminar. They had put it off several times due to delays in getting guidance. We got plenty of guidance now. So that's something that I think we can be prepared to discuss now with the Finance Committee on June 16th. But our projected total for funding is $4,327,093, and don't forget the 49 cents. Don't know why, but that's what it is. At the lower town green, you probably saw the street lights, the parking lot lights are up. They're now fully functional down there, so that's coming along. The Ledyard Fair is still working on cleaning up their last space over there by the market. They started working on that last weekend, so that's progressing. That's going to be a small park down there with a grassy area, some built-in charcoal grills, some built-in picnic tables. It's going to be a nice little setup, and it's going to be a great space for not just the farmers market, but for picnicking. And if there are other events held in that barn, it's going to be a great opportunity for people to sit down and have a bite and relax. The state had just announced a new grant for municipal affordable housing plans. All municipalities are required to have an affordable housing plan by July of 22. We haven't done ours yet, so I'm looking to come to the Finance Committee likely in July to look to seek approval to apply for the $15,000 grant. The only match that is involved is our staff time, so our in-kind time is what the match is. But I think it's a good opportunity and one more grant that hopefully we can get under our belt. And then the last thing I had for you is you probably haven't seen Events Magazine come in your mailbox yet. And they had a kind of a catastrophic error of their printing operation. So it's been delayed. They are hoping that the magazine, which would have been delivered the last week of May, will be out the week of June 14th. So they were very apologetic, but obviously nothing they could do about it. It's an old printing press that's takes some pretty specialized parts and people to work on it. So they've hit the recovery button, but it's going to take some time and to get all those different towns up and going. So you should see that the week of June 14th. And that's all I have for you. You're muted.
We each get one. That was mine. Any questions for the mayor? Bill.
Just a comment, Mayor. I happened to catch the Memorial Day event on Facebook, and it just made me feel really proud to see you people standing in the rain and doing that, because Memorial Day is not a fair weather event. And it just felt good to see people, umbrellas, pouring rain. It was the background noise was deafening, but you guys pulled it off, and thank you for doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. We weren't going to miss it, and the Lions were dead set on making it happen, and so we did. Wasn't the greatest weather, but that's okay.
Yep, you
Got
did.
it done. Thank you.
That's right.
Mayor, I would just mention, as far as the food truck line for Captain Scott's, I enjoyed my lobster roll about an hour ago. And the key there is to get in line early, like at 4 o'clock. And so somebody did that for me, who I thank. But you raise an interesting point. I'll talk to the committee, we may need to bring on a 5th food truck if if the lines are that long, 'cause people don't like to stand in line in the hot weather for food. So we'll have to look into that. Thanks for mentioning it.
You're welcome. And I will share up the picture of the line, but there had to be 25 to 30 people in it. It was amazing.
Wow, wow.
And it wasn't just that food truck. The others weren't as long, but that one was particularly long.
They're always quite popular.
Yeah, they are.
Counselor Ryan, you turned off your mute, so I assume you have something to add.
No, I was just gonna mention, I arrived at the market around, I don't know, a little after 5 o'clock. Got in the Scots line probably close to 5:30. And it was as long as you were describing, but was able to get my food. They turned it out pretty quickly. I think it was only about 15, 20 minutes wait for the food.
Very good.
So,
And it was
but,
good too, right? Wasn't
but
it?
but
It was
oh,
good.
no, yeah, it's always good. No, Scott's does a great job. But that being said, I wouldn't argue with your idea for a fifth food truck because I have brought some people that from my dealings in New London. I brought them over and just to get them to experience the market, and they were blown away by the variety of food trucks in one place. So it's a good thing to have that variety, and I think as long as you can demonstrate that the market is there for the trucks, which I don't think you'll have a problem doing that with those attendance numbers, a fifth truck would be glad to come. So.
Good. Yeah, I'm gonna thank you for that comment. I am gonna pass that along. When I first got involved with the farmers market, we were told if you get about 400 people at a farmers market, you're doing good, you're doing well. So 1,200 is certainly an accomplishment for those that work so hard on it. Any other questions for the mayor? Hearing none. We have no old business. Would anybody like to amend the agenda under new business? Seeing none, we'll move on to our consent calendar. Would anybody like to remove anything from the consent calendar?
I have a
Mr.
question
Trump.
about procedure. We got some additional information after the finance meeting that I'd like to share. I think you'll find it interesting. Can we do that, or do we have to take the item off the consent calendar?
Is it which number is that?
Number 1.
Oh, no, you can add the information, I think. Go ahead.
Okay, good. All right. Do it now or just
Do
before?
it now. That's fine.
Okay. Yeah. So Councilor Ryan asked some excellent questions. And I don't remember if it was him or Councilor Ingalls who asked this question. But they asked how much money has been moved into the suspense file over the years, because we can go all the way back to 2016. Actually, I think we can go back 15 years and collect. And we got an answer from Ian Stammel. There is $678,000 outstanding in the suspense file. So these are small amounts that have not been collected from taxpayers, property owners, and they go to collections. But the good news is we have a new collections agency who, and the details escape me, but they've recovered an incredible number of accounts. I think it was $17,000, which is more than the previous collection agency had in, I don't know how many. Do you remember, Andra or Tim? You're mute. But anyway, they are very happy with the new collection agency. And I think it's interesting to note just how much money is outstanding. You know, I think we're going to see a renewed focus on that.
Good.
That was it.
Okay. That being said, would someone like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Councilor Nabrowski makes a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Is there a second?
Yes.
McGrattan seconds.
Roxanne, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Ryan,
Yes.
Mr. Soms,
Yes.
Mrs. Davis,
Yes.
Mr. Dombrowski,
Yes.
Mrs. Ingalls, Mrs. Ingalls.
She's having
I think-
sound issues, I think.
Yeah, she looks frozen. Okay, Mrs. McGrattan.
Yes.
Okay, Andre, are you back? Nod your head.
I don't think she can hear either.
Yeah.
Her,
Okay. All right, I'll just say 6 in favor, one abstention. We can't hear her. Is that
One
okay? Or do you,
frozen. Yeah, that's fine. 6, yes, 6 in
Okay.
favor, 1 frozen. We'll all know
Okay.
what that means when we look at the minutes next month.
one frozen? Okay,
Okay, motion carries.
The
Finance,
sound is not working. I just checked with her. She's not hearing it.
okay. Bill? Next
Oh.
item.
yep, okay. So I move to adopt a proposed ordinance of the town of Ledyard authorizing the Iglesia Fuente de Salvacion Misionera Inc. to receive tax exempt status as of the date of purchase of real property as contained in the draft dated April 15, 2021. In addition, adopt a proposed resolution authorizing the abatement of delinquent property taxes for the Iglesia Fuente de Salvacion Misionera Inc. as contained in the draft dated April 22, 2021.
Second.
Bill, I'm going to spare you the discussion. We have discussed this numerous times. And
Thank you.
unless anybody on the council has a specific question, if you want to just give a sentence or two, I don't think we'd need to talk much more about this. Would you agree, Bill?
Absolutely. Yeah, we've had a public hearing. We've had 2 finance meetings or more. And we've also discussed it at the public hearing.
Okay. Any council comments? Hearing none, Roxanne, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Psalm,
Yes,
Mrs. Davis,
Yes,
Mr. Dombrowski,
Yes.
Mrs. Ingles, can she hear us yet? No. Mr. Marshall,
Yes.
Mrs. McGrattan,
Yes,
Mr. Ryan,
Yes.
6 in favor, 1 frozen.
motion carries. Next item, Bill.
I move to restate the certified resolution of application, Small Cities Program, Kings Corner Manor Senior Housing as adopted on March 11, 2020.
Second.
Thank you. So this is just a restate of something we've previously approved, and the state is asking us, because a year has gone by, they've asked us to just reaffirm our decision to apply for this grant. It's a $1.5 million grant to make some significant improvements in Kings Corner Manor.
Questions from town councilors? Hearing none, Roxanne, would you call the roll, please?
Mrs. Davis,
Yes,
Mr. Dombrowski,
Yes.
Mrs. Ingles, okay. Mr. Marshall,
Yes.
Mrs. McGrattan,
yes,
Mr. Ryan,
Yes.
Mr. Psalm,
Yes.
6 in favor, 1 frozen. Maybe if she gets on, we can just ask her later if she, what
He's
her votes were.
actually in the waiting room. I sent you a message.
Oh, okay, I was looking
You
at
get
my
it.
voting. Okay, she's in, she should be in.
okay, motion carries. Next item, Bill.
I move to authorize the mayor to submit a cable television advisory CTAS grant application, the amount of up to $3,500 to purchase technology equipment to improve the broadcasting of meetings.
Second, Counselor Ryan.
Thank you. So this is something that we have applied for just about every year and gotten additional audio and visual equipment to publicize our meetings, increases the transparency of government. And this particular grant will be used for, among other things, to purchase a wide angle camera so that when the council is back in session in chambers, the camera can take in all of the people speaking without having to pan. It's very helpful for the council over the years, and we've gotten substantially better communication of our meetings.
Thank you. Any questions? Hearing none, Roxanne, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Dombrowski,
Yes.
Mrs. Ingles, Mr. Marshall,
Yes.
Mrs. McGrattan,
Yes.
Mr. Ryan,
Yes.
Mr. Soms,
Yes.
Mrs. Davis,
Yes,
and I just want to, we didn't hear Andra. She did give us a thumbs up. So that's 7 in favor, 0 opposed. And Andra, if you can hear me, do you want to just give me a thumbs up on the other items we did earlier? Are you a yes for all of those? Okay. So I'll remove from being frozen to yes. Okay.
next item, Bill.
I move to set a 33.72 mill rate for the fiscal year 2021/2022.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded.
So we got some new information today through two sources. We at the finance committee, we had no new information. It looked like the state budget was going to pass, and our projected revenues would not change. So we put forth this motion for a 33.72, which is what we presented to the town during the town meeting and was voted on by the taxpayers. They didn't vote on the mill rate, they voted on the budget. So at the end of the year, we have to set a mill rate based on all the information we have, including, most importantly, revenue. Today, we got revenue information from two different sources. One was an article published in the day with detailed information by town. And then this evening, the mayor got additional information from, it wasn't COG, Mayor help me.
Yeah,
CM.
CCM, thank you. And the two reports don't match up. The CCM is reporting that we're getting more money than the Day article reported. And the Day article was very thorough. They did a lot of work, I assume, to put that together. But Chairman Davis asked the question early this morning, do we know if our revenue has gone up? Is it exactly what we expected, or has it gone down? And the answer, based on a conversation with the assistant finance director this morning, was we think it's the same, but we're not really sure. Today's information from CCM just further confuses the situation. I spent an hour trying to reconcile the numbers in the day with the numbers from the CCM report and our budget, and I could not do it. The reason is we take some of our revenue and report it under capital because it's grants that support capital funded items. So I can't just look at a list of revenue projections in the revenue side of the budget to see if it matches up. I have to go through capital. And it's allocated differently. So we'll get a grant, and how it's allocated is not clear in the budget, at least to me. And what I need is some help from the finance director who put the budget together and has worked these numbers all along, but she's out until the 14th. So as I sit here, I can't tell you that we're getting more revenue, less, exactly what was projected. We made one calculation this morning, Ian Stamel and I, and we could reduce the mill rate slightly, but based on what I saw in the CCM report, I now understand why that number was different. And it's really the number for this year for the number that we were looking at is the same. And I'll stop there because it just goes on and on and on trying to sort this out. My suggestion, unless we have clear information that our revenue is as projected, is we may need to wait until the finance director gets back, hold a finance meeting as scheduled on Wednesday, and then a special town council meeting right afterward to set the mill rate.
I would concur, Councilor Solms. I think it's ironic that every year we complain that we don't have the information in time, and we set the mill rate because the state legislature doesn't pass a budget till after June 30th. And this year, we get it the exact same day as the day we're setting the mill rate. So, hey, we made a little bit of progress here,
Yep.
But just not quite enough. So as much as I know the folks in the office will be dismayed because I'm sure they want to get these tax bills out, I think it's prudent to wait till next week. We don't have to delay it to the next council meeting. We can have a finance committee meeting and then a quick special town council meeting afterwards. Does that work for you, Roxanne? As far as
Sure, whatever.
scheduling? Okay,
Yep.
so would you, Bill, yes, Mayor Al,
Just one thing I wanted to add, CCM has always been incredibly valuable in this process. And today was no different, but what I would point out is it was not until 4:12 PM today when we finally received a municipal run from CCM. And I don't think it was necessarily their fault. I think they were waiting probably from either the Office of Fiscal Analysis or from OPM, somebody to provide them the numbers. So it was delayed, and that's the source of the angst right now, but no big deal.
but Mayor, still well ahead of past years.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, you know,
yes.
so this is a little bit better, just the timing for us just happened to be pretty poor. So
Exactly. Yeah.
at any rate, Bill, would it be your, you're gonna go ahead and table this motion?
Yeah, so I'll move, well, I've made the motion. If somebody else moves to table it, that's the way to do
Oh,
it.
Well, I move to amend the motion to table to what, our next regular meeting?
No, we're gonna table to the next our next special meeting.
So then I would move to amend the motion to a special meeting to be scheduled.
Okay, so you're moving to table, right, Mr. Ryan?
Yeah, well, you move to amend the motion that's on the table.
Okay,
And so I mean, if we're following Robert's rules, but that's, yeah,
that's fine.
Yeah.
Then I would entertain a second, please.
I'll second Counselor Dombrowski.
There's no discussion on this motion. We will call the roll.
Mrs. Ingles? Yes?
Hey!
Okay.
Hallelujah.
Mr. Marshall, I see he's on the screen.
Yes.
He is, okay, we hear him too. Okay, Mrs. McGrattan,
Yes,
Mr. Ryan,
yes, just to clarify, this is a roll call vote for the amendment, and then we're going to vote on the overall motion, right?
We
No, we're
generally don't do that. This is a vote
Okay.
to table.
All right, no problem. So yes,
Mrs. Davis,
Yes,
Mr. Dombrowski.
Yes.
7 in favor, 0 opposed, motion tabled.
motion carries. I'll read up on that, Mr. Ryan.
yeah.
Make sure we've been doing it right all these many years.
Roxanne, I don't think you called me, or I must have blanked out, but
Oh,
I'll
I'm
vote
marking
yes.
for, okay.
Oh, this is just one big mixed up motion after another. Okay, we're good to go. The motion carries. Next item, land use, Mr. Dombrowski.
I make a motion to accept road widening strips of land along Town Farm Road to be conveyed to the town of Ledger for highway purposes as required as a condition of approval of subdivision application number PZ 21 tax 03 SUB for a 3-lot subdivision of 48 Town Farm Road, contingent upon the town attorney's review and approval of a quick claim deed prior to filing in the town land records.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, discussion.
So this is a standard process where an application for a subdivision been approved through the planning and zoning. And as part of the subdivision approval, this property apparently, when it was subdivided many, many years ago, there was no right of way granted to the town to meet on the property itself. So this just adds the right of way along Town Farm Road along that 3-lot subdivision.
Any questions? Roxanne, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Marshall,
Yes.
Mrs. McGrattan,
yes,
Mr. Ryan,
Yes,
Mr. Soms,
Yes,
Mrs. Davis,
Yes,
Mr. Dombrowski,
Yes.
Mrs. Ingles. Yes. 7 in favor, 0 opposed.
motion carries. Next item, Mr. Dombrowski.
I make a motion to accept ownership of the new Browns Crossing Bridge located on Browns Crossing Road, Gales Ferry, from the Genesee and Wyoming G&W Railroad upon completion and certification into the town's inventory in accordance with ordinance number 300 tax 025 and ordinance regulation addition of any new street or highway into the highway system of the town of Ledyard, contingent upon a favorable 824 review of the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded.
So-
Discussion.
We've seen this one before.
Oh,
I know
yeah.
the mayor has made, we talked about this. But this is an old bridge that is currently, Mayor, please step in because you have a much better discussion of what's going on this than I do.
So it was when the New York, Hartford and New Haven Railroad went in about 1850, they bisected Mr. Brown's property. They then put up a bridge to provide access to the Thames River side of his property. It is an old wooden bridge, which is now at a 3-ton limit. Very scary. They have oil trucks and delivery trucks going over that, and the oil trucks can weigh as much as, I think, 40,000, 50,000 pounds, maybe even 80,000 pounds. We had a historical title search done, and we were able to convince the railroad that they needed to provide us a full highway rated bridge, which is a 50-ton rated bridge, to provide access for all vehicles, including emergency service vehicles. So that is what they have agreed to do. It will be the town's responsibility to own and maintain the bridge at this point, but at the same time, we're also providing critical connections for emergency services and for the taxpayers who have a right to access their property fully and completely.
Any other questions? Roxanne, would you call the roll?
Mrs. McGrattan,
Yes.
Mr. Ryan,
Yes.
Mr. Soms,
Yes.
Mrs. Davis,
Yes.
Mr. Dombrowski,
Yes.
Mrs. Ingles? Yes. Mr. Marshall?
Yes.
7 in favor, 0 opposed.
Motion carries. Okay, so let me review. On the 16th, we will have a special town council meeting to set the mill rate. And that will be held after the budget. That will be after the finance committee meeting. On the 23rd, we will have a regular town council meeting where we will start probably with an executive session to approve a replacement for Mr. Sebelia. And then we'll be moving into our holiday schedule, which typically is 1 meeting in July and 1 meeting in August, unless we need to meet for some special business or some business that we can't wait a month to deal with. So that's what your upcoming schedule looks like, subject to many changes, of course. And with that, Mr. Dombrowski,
Make a motion to adjourn.
motion's been made and
So
second,
moved.
meeting is adjourned without exception.
Night, everyone.
Good night,
Good night.
everyone.
Great night.
Okay, good night.
Hi, everyone.
It's nice to see you again, Andra.
She's already gone.